Did you know that some of life's greatest transformations begin not with a bang, but with a profound silence? There is a decision made in the quiet depths of the soul that reconfigures our entire inner universe without fanfare, the conscious choice to let go, not out of revenge nor out of defeat, but from a clarity that arises from within. This clarity emerges when we stop clinging, not just to the person or situation, but to the need, the fantasy we've created. It's an act that transcends mere loss. It is a reunion with oneself, a rediscovery of the very essence that was obscured by attachment. Contrary to appearances, letting go is not passivity or failure. It is a demonstration of inner courage, almost a spiritual initiation. It marks a turning point, a moment when once scattered energy begins to regroup, when the fragmented seeks unity. Observe closely. The moment this genuine decision is made, something fundamental shifts within us. The very structure of our psyche reorganizes. Have you ever felt this subtle change? This silent force beginning to operate when you finally say, "Enough," not in bitterness, but in truth. This intimate surrender opens a portal. It may seem like the end of a path, but in the depths, it is the awakening of freedom. It is the recognition that the true journey is not about controlling the external, but about navigating the universe within us. What happens when you dare to cross that portal? Chapter 2. The Dance of Masks and the Forgotten Essence. How many times have we tried to sculpt the love we desire into someone else's heart? We believe that with enough effort, patience, or self-sacrifice, we can awaken tenderness where indifference resides. This pursuit, though born of a deep longing for connection, traps us in a subtle dance, the dance of constant performance. In this dance, we wear masks, not out of deceit, but from a delicate hope of being accepted, of staying close to what we value. We silence our inner voice, soften our deepest truths, manage our intensity to fit into spaces that seem too narrow for our soul. The cost of this adaptation is a silent exile from our true self. We live in the shadow of an illusion that if we shape ourselves enough, we will finally be enough. Yet this constant contortion drains the vitality from our essence, leaving us distant from who we truly are. But beneath every layer of compromise, our spirit waits patiently. It longs for the moment when we stop confusing attachment, this need for external validation, with genuine love, which blossoms in authentic presence, not in calculated performance. Letting go of this need for control, for shaping others or ourselves, is the moment the mask finally falls. It is the beginning of the journey home, to the truth of our being, which never needed disguises to be worthy of love. What blossoms when we stop dancing for others? Chapter 3. The Echo of Shadows. And the courage to feel, when the illusion of control dissolves and we accept that holding on no longer nourishes the soul, an unexpected phenomenon may arise. It is not the immediate relief we might have hoped for, but a weight, an uncomfortable intensity that echoes within us. Why does pain sometimes intensify after we let go? This intensification happens because letting go is not just about the other. It is an invitation to face what we used attachment to avoid. Relationships, especially unfulfilling ones, act as silent shelters for old wounds, memories we preferred not to revisit. By breaking the bond, that shelter dissolves. What was contained, hidden beneath the surface of the relational dynamic, rises. To the surface, past hurts, feelings of inadequacy, echoes of previous abandonments. This emotional flood is not a regression, but a legacy of the soul asking for attention. It is a call to find the parts of ourselves that lived in silence while we tried to please or be accepted. The confusion, sadness, or anger that emerge are not enemies. They are messengers of our deepest truth, asking to be heard and integrated. Facing this shadow is not indulgence, it is the beginning of true liberation. It is in welcoming this pain, without fleeing, that we begin to understand its roots and reclaim the wholeness of our being. What truth does your soul long to reveal in this space of vulnerability? Chapter 4. The Soul's Alchemy in Letting Go. Why does the act of letting go resonate so deeply on our spiritual journey? Because it transcends a mere emotional or mental decision. It is soul alchemy. It is the moment we consciously choose to align our will with a greater flow, recognizing that certain cycles must come to an end so that life can be renewed. In this space of release, we are not merely detaching from a person or external situation. We are, in truth, freeing the inner chains that held us, unfulfilled expectations, attachments to specific outcomes, and the need to seek outside what can only be cultivated within. Letting go is a sacred act of trust in life's process. It is to affirm that, even without seeing the full path ahead, we believe in the wisdom of the universe and in our own ability to navigate the unknown. It is a courageous step out of the illusion of control and into radical acceptance of the present. This acceptance does not mean passive resignation, but an active engagement with reality as it is. It allows the vital energy, once consumed in sustaining the unsustainable, to return to us, nurturing our growth and inner healing in surprising ways. By practicing this conscious release, we open space for the divine, or our deepest inner wisdom, to operate. It is an invitation for grace to enter and reorganize our inner world, revealing a strength and peace we didn't know we possessed. How does this trust transform your inner landscape? Chapter 5. Diving into the deep waters of the shadow. After letting go, when the external noise quiets down, we are invited to dive inward, not into calm waters, but into the deep currents of our own shadow, those parts of ourselves we have banished to the dark out of fear, shame, or unawareness. What does it really mean to face this hidden self? This encounter is not punishment, but a sacred opportunity for integration. The intense emotions and uncomfortable memories that emerge are fragments of our wholeness asking to be seen and embraced. They are aspects that could not be expressed while our energy was focused on maintaining an attachment. Working with the shadow involves sitting with discomfort without judgment. It is like descending into a forgotten basement of our inner house, not to get lost in the dust, but to recognize the treasures and wounds stored there. It is to hear what the soul whispers when it no longer needs to perform. In this space, we may find resentment, fear, or the pain of inadequacy. Embracing these parts is not agreeing with them, but understanding them as guardians of unmet needs. It is a radical act of self-compassion, recognizing that our wholeness includes both light and darkness. Integrating the shadow is the path to true strength, which comes not from denial, but from full acceptance. It is to allow the truth that lived without light to return, not to define us, but to complete us. What forgotten treasure does your soul reveal when you dare to look within? Chapter 6. The Broken Mirror and the Restored Vision. Have you ever stopped to think how we see the world and people not as they are, but as we are? In our connections, we often project our own lights and shadows onto others, creating images that reflect more of our internal needs than external reality. We place people on pedestals or paint them as villains, unaware that they are mirrors of our unhealed parts. When we release attachment, that mirror shatters. The idealized or demonized image of the other begins to fade, giving way to a raw, more real vision. At first, this can bring a sense of lost orientation. Who are we without the reflection we sought or feared in the other's gaze? This apparent loss of ground is, in fact, an invitation to find a new center within ourselves. The space once occupied by projection becomes available for our own authenticity to emerge. We begin to see ourselves not through the lens of approval or disapproval, but through the lens of our intrinsic truth. In this process, we realize that the constant search for external validation was an attempt to fill a space only we can occupy. The need to be seen in a specific way lessens, and we understand that true love begins with the ability to see and accept ourselves completely. By releasing projections, the other also reveals themselves in their complex humanity, neither savior nor tormentor. This clarity brings a deep peace, a silent forgiveness, not necessarily for their actions, but for our own need for them to have been different. How does life transform when we see beyond the mirrors? Chapter 7. The Whispers of Inner Expansion. How can we recognize the signs that the soul is truly expanding after the journey of letting go? Spiritual growth rarely announces itself with trumpets. It reveals itself in subtle shifts in our perception and in how we move through life. It is a silent blooming that begins in the inner garden. One of the first signs is a new sense of calm that permeates daily life. Not the absence of challenges, but a growing trust in your ability to face them. External turbulence loses its power to destabilize your center as you find a deeper anchoring within yourself. Another sign is the clarity that arises around your values and boundaries. You begin to discern more easily what nourishes your soul and what drains it, and you gain the courage to honor those discoveries, even if that means saying no to old patterns or relationships. Also, notice an expanded sense of compassion toward yourself and others. As you embrace your own shadows and vulnerabilities, a gentler understanding of shared humanity develops. Judgment gives way to empathy, recognizing the invisible struggles behind appearances. Finally, a renewed sense of purpose may begin to emerge. Not necessarily a grand plan, but a more vivid connection to what brings meaning and joy to your existence. The energy once trapped in attachment now flows into the creation and authentic expression of your being. What new horizons open with this expansion? Chapter 8. The Dance of Freedom in Everyday Life. How does this spiritual release translate into our daily experience? It is not about grand events, but a shift in the quality of our presence in the world. It is like learning to dance with life, not resisting its rhythm, but flowing with its melody, even through the challenging notes. The newly discovered freedom manifests in how we interact. You might notice an unexpected lightness when dealing with situations that once overwhelmed you. Reactivity diminishes, giving way to more conscious and centered responses, born from a place of peace rather than fear. This transformation is visible in the courage to follow less conventional paths that align with your truth, even if they are not understood by others. It is the quiet strength of someone who no longer needs external approval to validate their choices, because they have found the compass within. Also, observe the ability to find beauty and meaning in simple moments. Gratitude blooms not from major accomplishments, but from the sheer experience of being alive, connected with yourself and the flow of existence. Life takes on a new texture, richer and deeper. This dance of freedom is the living expression of the soul that has found itself again. It is the subtle yet powerful proof that letting go of what once bound us does not leave us empty, but opens us to the fullness of our own essence in motion. What step of this dance is your soul ready to take? Chapter 9. The Soul's Blooming and the Path Ahead. After crossing through the shadows and rediscovering one's own light, a new chapter begins, one of deep healing and conscious movement toward the future. How does the soul integrate the lessons learned and bloom from the ashes of what was left behind? The healing process is not linear, but a rising spiral. It involves honoring the past without remaining trapped in it, integrating the scars not as signs of weakness, but as testaments to the resilience of the spirit. It is a gentle embrace of your own story, recognizing each step as necessary. In this phase, reconnection with life's purpose intensifies. Dreams and passions that may have lain dormant begin to awaken, fueled by reclaimed energy and newfound clarity. Life ceases to be a reaction to circumstances and becomes a conscious creation, guided by the inner voice. The strength that emerges is not aggressive, but a powerful serenity. It is the ability to remain centered amid storms, to nourish yourself with compassion, and to offer the world the unique gifts that only you possess. Vulnerability becomes a portal to more authentic connections. Moving forward, then, is not about forgetting, but about carrying the wisdom of the journey in your heart. It is to walk with lightness, confidence, and a profound sense of belonging, to yourself and to the universe, knowing that every ending is, in truth, an invitation to a new and luminous beginning. What melody does your soul long to sing now?